Perfect, and we're recording.
Awesome.
Um, so today I'm joined by Ben Hirst, who's an ultra runner and mental health advocate, and the founder of Run for Mental Health down in Tassie. How you doing, Ben?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. 2 weeks down, 1 week to go.
Doing really
Um,
well, mate.
Thanks, mate. So I thought what we'd do to kick it off is you're doing some amazing work down in Tassie for Speak Up, Stay Chatty, of which you're an ambassador. Um, and I thought I'd just start by telling people about some of the crazy stuff you've done,
Go for
because I think, as I said to you just before we jumped on, and I can't remember if I said it to you before, when I was thinking about what to call, I suppose, my run or whatever it's called over a year ago, I was typing in different things to Facebook. Um, One of them was Run for Mental Health, and you came up. And I was scrolling through, and um, I loved some of the stuff you were doing, and I've been following your adventures ever since.
Thank
But
you.
you started off in 2016 running from Burnley to Hobart, which is 340 kilometers. You've done a 48-hour treadmill challenge in 2018, running 272 kilometers. And you've done three Laps for Lads events. The last one was September last year, where you ran 2,348 laps of a school oval in memory of the 2,348 men we lost to suicide in 2017 in Australia,
That's right.
which came to about 775 kilometers. But as you said, you lost count on some of those. You probably ran well over 800.
I think so. I think at the 1 a.m. mark, before I was went back to my caravan, I probably did a couple more, and big blur. It all merged
Yeah,
into one.
amazing. So yeah, as I said before, I mean, you've done some amazing work down in Tassie, raising both awareness and funds. I suppose a lot of people are probably thinking, yep, that's amazing, but why? So why don't we start with your story and how it led to Run for Mental Health?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of guys, we sort of got to we're really enjoying it, enjoying life at up in the early 20s, sort of going out and with not a care in the world. And I had a great support network and great lot of friends, and I was a chef back in the days as well, so quite a big sort of blokey sort of world, where you were all mates, but you wouldn't dare talk about your feelings or anything like that. You share a beer together, you do absolutely everything for one another.
Yeah,
There was that unspoken, if someone was struggling, they would do it alone.
yeah,
And alcohol was also the coping mechanism for that as well. If someone wasn't doing okay, you'd have a pint or and that sort of thing. So
mm,
um, for me, it really took its toll, and I think the stress and that of being a chef, I was I didn't really have anyone to turn to. I'd moved out of home at quite an early age. Probably got to I'd say mid-20s, and I had a relationship. My first relationship sort of ended. I really didn't have the coping mechanisms from that.
mm,
As a guy in his mid-20s, he really didn't have. I think brought up in a chef world from the age of about 18. Um, there wasn't. We never really, spoke about how we were feeling at the time. So when that happened, it was quite natural to go and just drink as much as I can, and sort of try and, I guess, forget about things. But then you're not really dealing with the problem at hand. So
yeah,
um, you can imagine how it happened. It just went straight. Everything went straight downhill really quickly.
mm,
And I spent probably the best part of a few years really in my room. So I've really isolated myself from everyone and my friends. And when I did decide to go out and socialize. I was really sort of putting on a big act just to, because I wouldn't dare let anyone know that I'm struggling outside of what had happened. So, that continued for quite a few years, and it got to rock bottom. And I had no choice and had no money and everything like that. And I sucked it up and messaged my mum. I always say that, there always is that one person that you can talk to no matter what. You just got to find that person that you're comfortable with. And for me at the time, that was my mum. And I just went, I was lucky enough to be able to go home and sort of, they lived out in Sandfly, which is a little bit further out from the Hobart, the main city. So it allowed me to kind of stay away from that sort of lifestyle and rebuild and try and get better. So that was the first start, but it took me 2 years to even ask for help. And at that stage, you're getting into crisis mode, and that's too late. So it's a long story, but by getting into running, I kind of I was finishing work at the pub that I worked at, and it was around sort of that New Year's period where everyone was really enjoying themselves, and I bumped into a mate of mine, and he was doing Christmas drinks, and there was a guy with a belt buckle, and he was having a chat and saying, "Oh, look, I got this amazing belt buckle from doing a 100-kilometer race. I finished under 20 hours, and I got this bronze belt buckle, and it looked bloody amazing. I'd tell you what. No, I already had a couple of beers, and I was like, I don't even wear belt buckles, but I'm in. And so my mate was already entered into the race, and I think I did a marathon I think the year before at the Melbourne Marathon with my brother, and really struggled with that. I was still drinking and smoking pretty heavily, but I've always been reasonably, I think, motivated to push through all that sort of stuff, even though I wasn't looking after myself. So I went home about 3 a.m. and signed up to this 100-kilometer race, which was now Ultra Trail Australia in the Blue Mountains, and it was already sold out at that stage. So I got an email about later saying that there was a spot for me, and I almost had a heart attack because I'd forgotten. I had no recollection of entering, but I followed it up and scraped the little money that I had to go over there because I knew that was something that I just had to do. I had not trained for it. I was still drinking heavily. I think I gave up smoking a couple of months before. And finished it in 22 hours, I think it took me at that stage. I walked over the finish line, and it was 4 or 5 in the morning. No one was there. There was a couple. Most of the race officials were asleep in their chair. So I just completed the biggest thing I've ever done, and there wasn't 10,000 people at the Melbourne Marathon cheering you on. There was no one. So you sort of going, oh well, this is not how I pictured it. And I didn't get my bronze belt buckle either. I got a certificate, believe it or not, for finishing something like that. And so that was my first real experience of ultra running. But I think it kind of made me realise what I was capable of, and it was probably the first thing that I actually pushed through and followed something through to the end. So I think that was the start of going, well, how far can I take this if I'm in this pretty poor health, what if I could clean my act up, what could I do, and how could I benefit other people? that's where Run for Mental Health kind of was born out of that. You know, I wanted to push myself, and obviously talk about my story and make other people realize how much that they can, you know, how much basically realize that they too can really, you know, achieve these. They don't have to do 100 kilometers, but they can certainly do much more than they ever, you know, pictured themselves doing. So
Yeah.
that was my goal, to actually make people realize their potential.
And at what point, I mean, it sounds like a similar story to mine, really, but I'm a few years behind you on some of these challenges. Um, so when I suppose you finished the event, you felt great. It sounds like similar to me. You feel as though you're sort of you'd left stuff on the table and you were capable of a lot more. You went back home to Tassie.
Mm.
Um, what then happened between then and your first event? And was it a case of, did you just give up drinking, or was it you cut down? And at what point as well did you start to, I suppose, tell your story? And how did that come about? I know there's quite a few
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
in there, but
Oh, it's so much. It takes so long to talk about the last sort of 5-6 years, because there is so much there. But
maybe
that was.
just the turning point for you then.
Mm,
When was it that you, because I suppose one of the things that we're both advocating is about talking about
mm.
mental health. So what was that point for you?
I think so. It wasn't an immediate thing, and it wasn't an immediate. I want to go out and do another one. You know, it was like, yeah, I was hurting pretty bad, and like, because my body was not ready for that, and I wasn't, and I went through those painful mental. I went through such a journey in that 22 hours. Of yeah, like it was pretty like pretty triggering and pretty bad, but that was 2014, so there was a couple of years prior to the challenge. But I entered it again in 2015 in
Yeah.
the hope that I wanted to finally get that bloody bronze buckle, 20 hours. It sounds strange that you'd go and do it just but that was what I was there and I wanted to get that. So, and I did. I think I did it in 17 hours the following year, and that wasn't from much training at all.
Yeah.
I'd cut down drinking a fair bit. I definitely cut out smoking,
Mm.
because that was a given. Drinking, it still featured quite a bit,
Mm.
because it was my coping mechanism for so long. So it was, and I probably in turn probably should have gone and saw someone about it. But I guess I just, when you are addicted to someone and because I'm such an addictive personality, I need to find something and you filter one addictive thing to, something that is a bit more positive. So for me, I
Mm.
started getting more addicted to running. So
Yeah.
you're shifting that across to something. So drinking alcohol wasn't as important at the time. So
Okay.
that was sort of dropping, but I couldn't cut it out myself. So, um, but yeah, I guess 2016, there was quite a few amazing moments. So, you know, well, actually, I'd got engaged, and we were expecting our first child as well. So I got engaged with Jess,
Mm.
um, and I think there was that sort of turning point where things were starting to you know get a lot better, and Jess really sort of changed things for the better for me. Um, and to be honest, it just happened overnight. It was like at 12 o'clock, I couldn't sleep. I really struggled to sleep at that time because my mind's always thinking of new things to do. And I just thought, I think I actually just come up with the idea at 12 o'clock, and I turned to Jess and said, "Oh, look, do you think it'd be okay if I ran from Burnie to Hobart in 3 or 4 days, because I don't have much annual leave at work."
Yeah.
And mainly because she would have been about 37. She would be about 37 weeks pregnant at the time. So it was a big risk, and obviously it was a big thing for me at the time as well. I had no idea I'd be able to do it, but
Yeah,
I wanted to throw everything on the line, to show how much I really want to, I guess, get the word out and advocate for people that are going through the same thing that I was going through,
yeah,
and also funnel any of the attention or media towards talking about it. I I guess through that whole campaign, that's when I sort of started openly talking about what I was going through. It was probably a little bit prior to that, but I used this campaign to actually start talking about my story and what had been happening over the last few years. So, but from when it started, I first had those problems. It was a good 4 or 5 years before I even started telling others about it. So it was such a long time, and that I think it was really how I was sort of the industry that I was brought up in, and just the world at that time. It has changed a lot, but 10, 15, 10 years ago, it was still pretty bad, and not spoken about at all. And Speak Up Stay Chatty wasn't even around. So
Oh, okay.
um,
And over those, I suppose over the last 4 years, speaking up about it at events or during your challenges, how has, I suppose, that experience been, I suppose, important to you getting to a position of good mental health?
Um, Look, I think it's quite a positive thing to be able to get things off your chest, and obviously it's a bit weird talking about such personal things with strangers as well. That like even just speak. I'm more than happy to talk about any aspect of my life to anyone, no matter
Yeah,
if I've ever met them, because that's how I want to. I want to be a bit of an open book now, and be
yeah,
able to be vulnerable as a male, in my early 30s now, and just so if a guy who was in the same position, who is on the other, could be on the other end of the country, looking at what I'm saying on the internet. I want them to be able to go, this guy's, putting everything on the line, so publicly to,
mm,
um, to share what he's going through, and maybe maybe I could go and talk to my mum or dad, or talk to my best mate about it. It doesn't have to be so. I just want to encourage others to be able to feel like they can talk to someone. Before it gets to that stage where sometimes it can be in that crisis mode, which is really hard to get out of. And if you can get it early, it can be such a you can I guess change things really quickly.
mm.
So whenever anyone wants to chat, or even just bring me to talk to someone, I'm always open to do it, no matter what.
Awesome. And that seems to be, I could be wrong, but that seems to be the key message that comes through in a lot of your events. It's all about raising awareness, and I wrote down here, normalizing asking for help. Is that for you the most important thing, and I suppose the key thing for people to take away that are listening?
Yeah, I think normalizing it is one of the keys. Just having it. I guess it's been a while since it's been a while since there's people, I guess, speaking out about their mental health, and them getting criticised for it. There's plenty of public figures that sports stars and that sort of thing, really openly talking about it, and their workplaces, or teams giving them time to go through it. That would have never happened. And so I guess just having everyone in the same boat on how they view mental health, I think that's important. Because
Mm,
yes, I could be talking about it and I could be quite comfortable talking about it because I've had that experience. But if my workplace doesn't, isn't okay with me having a mental health day, or, you've got to have everyone across the board and everyone accepting of it. Otherwise, it's not going to work, because there's going to be still people out there worried that of what other people might think if they are going through this, which is completely, as we're finding it, it's quite completely normal. And this, it's becoming such a, it's becoming more normal than someone having a physical injury. So I think the times it is really shifting, but we need to, we need to shift quicker, because this is going to be becoming the focus point. And I think through this whole COVID-19 situation, we're going to see, and we're going to see why that's the case. And hopefully it actually makes us put a lot more effort into our own mental health as well.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. I've seen that in the news and read about it. And yeah, you've only got to speak to a wide variety of friends to see that as well.
Yeah.
So last question then, before we jump into the fun questions at the end. So how and it's completely lost. I've lost my train of thought then. So
you talk to a lot of people, right?
So I might come back to that if I remember it. But why don't we jump into the quick questions for now?
Right.
What is your favourite race?
Well, it's not a race as such, but I've really been getting into last one standing events. Have you ever heard of those? They're they're called backyard ultras. It's kind of the thing I've been focusing on now, because there is no finish line, and you've got to do the 6.7 kilometres per hour until there's only one person left, and that's an event that really speaks to me. I don't like racing against people, but I like outlasting people. So there's one in Mirren in Victoria at the moment, and that's my favourite race. And a close second would be I've just forgotten it. They're gonna.
We're both at that point on a Sunday evening where our brains are starting to shut down.
Yeah.
But the last backyard ultra, I did have a note here that you actually won, but you left work at 7 o'clock. You jumped on a quick flight. You got a cab to the start with 20 minutes to spare. You ran 100 miles to win it.
I actually hadn't. So I was in a meeting, a really important meeting all day, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough time. There was only one flight out that finished. If the meeting finished early, and it did, and I drove straight to the airport without a ticket. And it was actually about, I think I caught like a 4:30 flight. I think it started about 6 or something. And took a cab in, and 20 minutes to spare. Grabbed my bib and lived out of my carry-on luggage. 24 hours to win it. It was just such a weird experience, but I was at such an ease because there was just no expectations. The normal build up to a race was not there. So it was it was just a really cool experience.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to doing one myself. And do you listen to anything when you run?
I used to listen to music, but now I listen to podcasts because there's something about I just found that, I think the subconscious mind, I think you really start probably listening to the content and then allows you to zone out a lot more during long runs. And I've been listening to some fantastic, amazing sort of Australian sports stars and stuff in their lives. And it's actually, rather than just listening to the same tune all the time, I think you just get a lot more benefit out of learning from others that have really achieved a lot. So that's so much better than listening to music. So
how many pairs of running shoes do you own?
Not many, because they're all having to get thrown out. They've got no tread on them. But I'll probably only go with about 2 or 3 pairs, just alternating a trail pair and basically a trail pair and a road pair, and then I'll get like a backup just in case. But they're all looking pretty used at the moment. So.
And who's been the biggest influence on your life so far?
Oh, look, I think my parents, I'd say, they were, they really. I've got three brothers, and they really didn't have a lot of money, but we would, as children, we wouldn't have known that, and they gave us everything we kind of asked for, and allowed us to play like 3 or 4 sports each. So, their whole week probably would have been dedicated to getting us to the various trainings. And I played field hockey for quite a few years and made the state team and all that sort of stuff. And I probably had about 4 trainings a week and 3 games, and that took up the whole week. They're just there, and I wanted to play all sports. So I didn't realise their struggles until later, and then when I became a dad and realised, I had this moment where I'm like, how the hell did they do it? I've got 2 children, but how did they do it? And with the money that they had, I'm eternally grateful for that. So it's easy. It's an easy decision.
Yeah. And lastly, do you have a favourite quote?
Yeah, I had to look this up because I don't usually just have one then and there, but it's from.
Better be a good one.
Ever heard of Lazarus Lake? You've probably heard of him.
Yeah,
Barkley Marathons. He comes out with these amazing quotes, and I'm going to read it off my phone because I haven't got it on hand. But he goes, "If you're going to face a real challenge, it has to be a real challenge. You can't accomplish anything without the possibility of failure." He does torment people a lot, but there is a soft side to him, and he is always, yes, he torments the people that are in his races, but he is another one of those people that tries to make other people realise their potential, and that's why he creates these amazing challenges, because he's always pushing people. So I admire him for that.
Love it. And finally, where can people go to find out more about you and Run for Mental Health?
Oh, look, I'm plastered all over the internet, as you probably found out. But at the moment, it's just it's on a Facebook page. So I think it's Run for Mental Health. Search up on Facebook, Run for Mental Health, and I'll be probably one of the top things anyway. And I just I've been only just sort of getting back into posting, and after a bit of a break, but you can see my posts and and follow my journey, and hopefully I'll have another big run when races come back, and be able to share that with everyone how I go. So
Awesome.
I'm enjoying following your runs while I'm not doing much.
Well, I think I'll be taking a leaf out of your book and taking a little break afterwards. I'm loving it, but it's very tiring.
Yes, you always need to have a good break.
Yeah. But Ben, it's been awesome chatting to you, mate. As I said, I've been really inspired following you for the last 1.5 years. And hopefully we can catch up for a run soon.
That will definitely happen. I can see it happening, and keep going, mate. And you're doing amazing, and the conversations are really catching, and it's enabling people to talk in a time that people can easily get disconnected. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Take care, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.